You can kind of smell the place and think about crushed metals and burnt rubber and just everything you see. And you realize every truck on the highway and every car parked on the side of the road can become this shred of destruction at any minute. And the more you're around it, the more you sort of live and think about that. It just hangs with you.
Never thought it would come here. But this is the likeliest place that it could come. I mean, to handle a volume like that of construction, and the easiest way to get it here, the fastest way to get it here, by boat, to offload it here, and then to look through it. We had the equipment, we had the manpower.
So we first came up in the fall of 2001 to see what was here. They were taking everything out of ground zero, and we knew this was a place where everything would be sorted and we would start to see things that the museum would want to collect. And what would be able to tell this compelling story. The more we got to know individual trucks that were here, fire engines, and we'd come up and talk to the FBI, and they would point out things, and they would move them around a little bit, and they were in various degrees of destruction. Some were very destroyed. The tires and the frame, the bodies were just completely ravaged. And others were just lightly destroyed. They were parked a little further away. The engine 6-pumper, when we first saw it, was sort of squeezed in between several other trucks, and the cab was very burnt. It was very destroyed, and we walked by it and didn't notice it at first. And Jeff Stein, one of our curators, walked in along the side. This truck was especially interesting at first glance because it had very dramatic damage to it, but it also had a strength and dignity about it. It was up the back. Still had the paint on it, and all the hose was intact, and many of the other trucks were completely picked apart and destroyed, and we thought there might be a very good story with this truck. Very quickly we started to find out it had this very deep history in the city as this sort of famous company, very old fire company in the city. And then we realized they were right in the vicinity of the World Trade Center and one of the first responders. Simply put, there was two big things that we had to do to have the fire engine in the collection on exhibition. And one was to get the permission from Engine Company 6, from the firefighters there before we took it. If they said no, we thought this was a bad idea for a museum to have this truck, we would have abandoned it. We would have walked away from it. But on the other hand, if they thought it was a good idea, we would also have the voices of the firefighters who were with the truck that day to help tell this story as we make an exhibition. The next big thing was, how do you lift a 28,000-pound fire engine onto a truck and get it someplace to clean it? Everything at Ground Zero was thought to be contaminated with asbestos and those sort of things. So before it could come to the museum and be in a public place, it had to be cleaned. So the first hurdle, and before it could be taken out of fresh kills, we had to have a plan to do that. They didn't want anything to leave this place that was considered contaminated. So we contacted the State Department of Corrections. As part of their work, they did asbestos abatement. And so we came down with a team from the prison, asbestos abatement people, and John Conroy, the director of Corecraft. This is the industry in the prisons that makes things. And they did testing on it. They brought back samples, and indeed it was contaminated. It had to be cleaned, and they agreed to do that. The next thing is we had to figure out how to move it. How do you get the fire engine? You can't tow it, and you can't clearly drive it out. And I went to the governor's office for that. They had trucks in New York City at this 369th Corps Support Battalion in Harlem, who are also known as the Harlem Hellfighters, and this is a real New York City company, again with a great history. They agreed to come and send an Army truck here to Fresh Kills to remove the fire engine. So on a day in February, the sanitation cranes on site came and lifted the fire engine 6 truck onto the Army truck where it was wrapped in tarps. We didn't want the fire engine going up the thruway in the back of an Army trailer. It would attract press and attention. We wanted to do it with a certain sense of dignity. That afternoon, we pulled out with the Army truck and followed it with a convoy up to this prison in Orange County, where they actually built a large shed, a house, if you will, around it to do the work. This prison in Orange County had the inmates work on public facilities, and we met them along the way.
Thanks a lot, guys.
And this was a great privilege for them to do it, and they told us so. These are guys who watched the World Trade Center collapse on television and couldn't do anything about it. They were from New York, and they would tell us they were just honored when this truck came there that they could actually touch this thing and do it, and it was just remarkable.
When I first seen this truck and the condition that it was, I felt sad, especially for all the people that had died and the firemen, the chances that they take, to save our families, as well as everybody else. And at the same token, I felt a pride, an honor that I was selected, as well as the rest of the asbestos crew, to take on this kind of assignment.
Be doing this. This was another privilege.
This was a bonus.
This was a bonus. That's right. It was a bonus.
job.
Something that we didn't expect. When it happened, we didn't think we would be cleaning the truck
Yeah.
on September 11th. That was the last thing on our mind. Doing this here project was a sense of a way we can give back or do a part.
Yeah.
Do something to share in the tragedy, the events that happened on 9/11. And we hope everybody enjoys it, enjoys the hard work that we have put into it, and the firemen who lost their lives during this event.